Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Pump and Style Enhancements. We are thrilled to have you join us. Throughout the presentation, you can submit your text questions to our presenters by typing them in the questions pane of the control panel. Feel free to send in your questions anytime. We will collect them and address them during the Q&A session at the end of today's presentation. To maximize your webinar experience, you can participate using other toolbar panes, including handouts, links, and polls. Event handouts, including a certificate of attendance, can be found by clicking on the handout section of the toolbar. Please note that this webinar does not qualify for continuing education credit. If you experience any technical issues, please click on the Help button on the lower left of your screen. By joining today's event, you acknowledge and agree that any duplication, reproduction, publication, or dissemination of any images, information, or other materials contained in this webinar regarding Medela or its business or products is strictly prohibited. Today's webinar is being recorded, and after the event, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to view the recording. And without further ado, I would like to introduce today's speakers. Kelly Evans. Kelly is the Executive Vice President and Head of Commercial for the Americas at Medela. With nearly 15 years of leadership in the mom and baby industry, she brings deep expertise in sales strategy and driving growth across both retail and professional channels. Dr. Danielle Prime. Danielle completed her PhD in biochemistry in 2010 at the University of Western Australia under the guidance of Professor Peter Hartman and the Human Lactation Research Group. Her research focuses on milk ejection patterns and breast pump dynamics, with the goal of providing evidence-based insights to support both clinicians and mothers. Angela Lang, DNP, CNS, RN, IBCLC, CNL, CONQS. Angela is a global leader in maternal infant health, blending clinical expertise and research to drive equitable, evidence-based care. As Medela's Global Director of Medical Affairs and Clinical Education, she empowers clinicians and families through education, advocacy, and innovation. A practicing IBCLC with a doctorate in clinical practice, Angela brings over a decade of experience in perinatal care. Michelle Zenner. Michelle holds a bachelor's in marketing from California State University, San Marcos. With a strong passion for brands and consumer products, she has built her career working with key CPG brands. As a Medela mom, she is dedicated to supporting breastfeeding success and enhancing the experience to other moms. Now, I'd like to turn it over to Kelly to get us started.
Thanks, Jess. Hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Evans, and I'm so glad to be here with you today. As Jess mentioned, I lead our commercial team at Medela across the Americas. And in my almost year here, I've spent a lot of time listening to what families and professionals like you truly need from us. At Medela, we've been committed to human milk science for over 60 years. But it's far more than the research. It's about turning that science into care. Whether at home, in the hospital, or back home again, our mission has always been to support families from home to hospital to home. That's why today is so exciting and so meaningful. We're introducing Pump and Style Pro, the latest evolution of our trusted Pump and Style portfolio, built with the same commitment to performance, but now with a renewed focus on comfort and insurance accessibility. I'm dating myself, but as a Pump and Style mom 20 years ago, I can tell you this is a major upgrade. The pump reflects everything we've heard from moms, from lactation consultants and WIC staff, and it's designed to meet the real needs of families today while honoring what's always worked. I'm so proud of this product, but I'm even more proud of how we got here, by listening, by learning, and by collaborating with people who are on the front lines every day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the incredible work that you do. We're honored to continue this journey with you.
Thank you, Kelly. I'm excited to walk you guys through the enhancements of Pump and Style. But before we get started, I want to take a walk down memory lane. I'm sure many of you recognize or have maybe experienced one of these Pump and Styles in the past. I myself was a Pump and Style advanced mom in 2019, but it's really hard to believe that Pump and Style has been a key product in Medela's portfolio for nearly 30 years. Not many brands, if at all, can say that they've had a hero product in their portfolio for that long. And we've been supporting millions of moms throughout their breastfeeding journey. I'm not sure if you know this, but actually before 1996, moms had limited or cumbersome options, like carrying their hospital pump or a single electric pump back and forth wherever they go. We actually recognized this need, and Medela introduced the first personal use double electric pump designed specifically for working moms, making it easier for them to continue breastfeeding while balancing work. So over time, the product has evolved, which you can clearly see on the screen, to meet the changing needs of moms as their expectations and lifestyles have evolved over the past 30 years. So in order to do that, we've made enhancements focusing on both comfort and performance, as Kelly mentioned, and this has really led to the newly enhanced Pump and Style Pro and Pro Plus, which I'm going to walk you through. But before we get into the changes, and as we discuss the enhancements, you will notice that Pump and Style has been thoughtfully enhanced both inside and out, being conscious of maintaining its compact design, which we know that moms love, while ensuring familiarity and delivering on timely solutions for moms. So you'll notice that the form factor has stayed the same. These improvements stem from extensive feedback from HCPs like yourself, our partners, moms, research, and focus groups, focusing on three key areas: performance and comfort, making sure that we're optimizing milk output and comfort to enhance the pumping experience; visual indicators, delivering clear guides to help moms navigate their pumping levels and modes with confidence; and hospital to home continuity of care, making sure that we're aligning functionality with our hospital grade pump Symphony to ease the transitions for moms at home. These refinements aim to make pumping more intuitive, efficient, and supportive for moms' unique needs. So, starting with the inside of the pump and Style has been updated to better align with Symphony's maintain mode, enhancing performance, comfort, and continuity of care for moms while maintaining the dependability and performance that you guys trust with Symphony. So starting with the pumping pattern, we actually adjusted Pump and Style to closely resemble Symphony's maintain mode for hospital efficiency when it comes to maintaining her milk supply and overall comfort, because we know these are very important. And Dr. Danielle Prime will go more into the science and research in the next coming slides about the pumping curve, and also give you a hint or a little sneak peek into some of the research results that we've done, which have been really positive. Secondly, we updated the levels. So we're going from a total of 10 levels in the current Pump and Style to 16 in the new, and have adjusted the start level from 4 to 3 to keep consistent with Symphony. So moms transitioning between Symphony and Pump and Style can easily find familiar settings. So for example, if a mom's using a level 7 on Symphony when she's at the hospital, and then she's going to transition home to her Pump and Style, she can easily find level 7, and it makes that transition really smooth, and she has a similar experience when it comes to comfort. In addition, the increased levels, now going from 10 levels to 16, actually lets mom fine tune her comfort a little bit better because the levels have smaller ranges. So this is a really nice enhancement. So overall, these refinements on the inside actually ensure a seamless experience for moms, which Angela will go into further detail in the upcoming slides when she goes into the benefits of continuity of care. So moving on to the outside of the pump, feedback from both moms and clinicians was that they really didn't know what pumping level or mode mom was on. And we know that you are key in helping and supporting moms during their pumping journey. So in order to address that, what we did is we added LED indicators, which you can see represented on the screen, to represent pumping level and pumping modes, and for our rechargeable version, a battery life indicator. So going into a little bit more detail for the levels, there are 16 dimples that will be on the upper portion of the pump, and they will light up for each level accordingly as mom increases and decreases her vacuum. So really giving her a clear view of what level she's at and how many more levels she has to go within her range, which is really important. And then for the pumping mode, this is represented with our drops of life, orange representing stimulation, and white for expression mode. So when we think milk is coming, it's white, we have the white light. And the pump is also going to continue to automatically transition from stimulation to expression. So the orange light will actually blink seconds before the transition to give mom more feedback, so she knows that that transition is coming. And then you might have noticed also there is that battery symbol, which is representative of the battery life. And this will be available on the version that has a rechargeable battery only, which I'll go through at the end of the presentation. But to put this a little more into perspective, I always use the analogy, you wouldn't want to drive your car without a speedometer. And that's what previous pump and style was like, not knowing your any of your pumping levels or your modes. So with that said, these changes, I believe, and I think you'll see too, will actually have a big impact in mom's experience, and they really aim to provide, more clear visuals for mom, reduce the guesswork, right? She has many things to worry about, and to enhance ease of use. So really ensuring that she knows what settings she's at a glance, so she's really confident in her pumping session. So I'm now going to hand it off to Dr. Danielle Prime, and she's going to educate you on the science and the clinical data behind the updated pumping pattern in Pump and Style Pro.
Well, I'm really excited now to do a little bit of a deep dive into suction curves and show you what's been changed within the pump itself. And so whenever we talk about pumping curves, we have to step back and learn from the infant. So what I want to start this section with is what we've learned and how the baby is able to utilize these really unique breastfeeding rhythms in order to build and maintain milk supply. And it's these breastfeeding rhythms that have been translated into Medela's two-phase technology. And so if we click next, you'll see here a lovely example of an infant sucking trace. And so on the left there, you can see each one of those little spikes is a suction curve, right? So the baby is suck quickly until you get to that gray color dashed line, which is milk ejection. And then the baby will naturally switch into a slower mode in order to extract milk. And if we click again, you'll see that this was then translated into two-phase technology. So all of Medela's pumps will start with that fast stimulation phase, which is greater than 100 cycles per minute. And the main job of this phase is to trigger milk to flow, right? And Michelle explained that beautifully, and that this will automatically switch over after 1 minute, or the mum can press let down if she sees milk earlier. Now, none of the stimulation phase is what I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to focus on the expression phase, on this get milk out mode, because it's the real key principles of infant sucking that we've implemented into the expression phase. And if we click once more, it's this get milk out mode that we're going to be really interested in today, and the exact curve shape that we've implemented with the new pump and style is what I'll dive into. So if we click once again, I'm going to now just spend a couple more slides on the baby, because the baby gives us all of the information we need to develop a good suction curve in a pump. And so again, zooming in on a nutritive suck cycle for an infant. So this here is what the tongue behavior and vacuum behavior is doing inside the baby's mouth when he's trying to apply a suction curve that removes milk. And if you have a look at the circle on number 1, so now in that situation, the tongue is fully up, vacuum is really low, the milk ducts are being compressed down, there's no milk flow. And if you track the tongue movement down to 2 and then finally to 3, and we sit there for a second at number 3, the tongue is down, the milk ducts are open, because remember, milk ejection is happening, so milk wants to be pushed through them. The intraoral space is large, that's where the vacuum is being generated, and vacuum is at its highest. And then the tongue will come up again, back to that position 1. And that represents one nutritive suck cycle in a baby. And if we go to the next slide, there's been some really clever researchers that have found this a real topic of interest, to the point where they have sat down and investigated thousands of these nutritive sucking cycles through tons and tons of baby sucking traces. And this research has given us some really great insights into which parts of that sucking curve are responsible for removing the milk. Now, this looks a little bit technical, but it's actually the same diagram on the former slide, but instead now those black boxes represent an ultrasound image rather than a graphic. So in the top left of the triangle, you have the tongue up, low vacuum. If we follow that down to the very bottom pointy bit of the triangle, the very middle of the screen, that's when the tongue's down and we have peak vacuum, and then we go back up again to the tongue up position. And what this published research showed us is that there were two key elements of the nutritive sucking curve that were really keenly related to getting milk out. And the first one is the orange arrow on the left of the screen. So that is the rate of vacuum application. So how efficiently the baby drops the tongue and builds that vacuum up. If the baby could do that really effectively and build up vacuum quickly, then the group saw an association with higher milk output removed per cycle. Okay. The other element of the suction curve that was related to performance was the peak vacuum. So that's the little pointy bit at the bottom. So the higher the peak vacuum, the more milk out, right? But I will put a giant caveat on that one because, of course, this is only relevant as long as it's comfortable for the mum. So the best outcome for mum is for her to be able to have a pump or a baby that's able to provide a range of vacuums if you can find her highest but comfortable level. Exceeding comfort and pumping at a discomfort level is not going to help milk output. But the peak vacuum was absolutely associated with a higher milk output as well. So if we simplify now what we've learned from the baby and we move to the next slide, I'll break it down into just the really basic key elements of a nutritive suck cycle. So if we click, you'll see a nice little graph, y-axis show up. And so on the top, imagine this is weak vacuum. And if you follow that grey arrow all the way down, at the bottom of the grey arrow, that's strong vacuum. Okay, so just a simple y-axis. And then I've laid in there one nutritive suck cycle. And these are the key elements. So we want to have click 1 will be a quick build up of vacuum, because we saw in the former slide that we know that a quick build up of vacuum is really good for milk output. With the second click, we'll have a look at the peak vacuum. So as long as the mum can pump at her maximum comfortable vacuum, she'll get a good milk output. The third one is how long we can optimize holding her at a higher vacuum. So we call this a optimized hold area, because once we get the nipple into position and milk is flowing, it's great to continue getting it to flow as long as it's comfortable for her. So optimized hold area. And then of course we have to release the nipple because we need to release it back so we can do it all over again. And what this is trying to aim for when you're developing a curve is that you can maximize the area I've drawn here in orange, maximize the area where milk is flowing while maintaining the mother's comfort. And if we can have that balance of effectiveness and comfort, then we've got a really good suction curve. So if we go to the next slide, we'll start now to dig in a little bit more into Medela's curves. I'll start to step you through a number of different curves in the pump. So I'll use the same chart for every pump curve. So here you can see we've got a y-axis, which is just the vacuum strength, and it's set up just like before. So weak vacuum will be at the top and a strong vacuum will be at the bottom. And then we have time, but I'm only going to show one cycle, one nutritive cycle. I'm not going to put them in sequence for simplicity. So the first one I'm going to lay on here is going to be the symphony curve. And it's going to be in yellow. And that there represents the symphony curve nutritive suck cycle. So the expression phase that comes with the maintain mode in symphony. So this is symphony's get milk out mode. Okay. Now, if we click once again, what I want to talk you through here is that Symphony is probably one of, or is really the most extensively researched pump in the market. There's a number of randomized controlled trials showing its performance, etc. But the curve shape is really a balance of comfort and efficiency. And if we go back to when the Symphony was created and this curve was selected, it was actually one candidate of 6 different curves that were assessed. And it was this that is on the slide here, the yellow one, that was the best balance of comfort and efficiency. And we know through published studies that this curve shape is able to remove a similar amount of milk as a breastfeeding infant. So if we have a look at the infant, there's strong data to show he removes around 67% of the available milk in the breast. And with the Symphony Maintain curve, we get out around 65% of the available milk in the breast. So we know that this is a pretty good gold standard curve shape to strive for. Now, if we click again, I'm going to bring up the Pump and Style Advanced. It's on there now in grey. So you can see it sitting a little bit beneath Symphony in grey. Now, the Pump and Style Advanced is that one that was around for a really long time, for 20 years or so. And that Pump and Style Advanced, I think you can see really clearly two things. One, it has a really similar curve principle to Symphony. You can see it has that quick buildup of vacuum, it has a hold phase, and it has the release. The other thing that's really similar with these two pumps is that they have a smooth curve application. So by that I mean, and you'll see it when we go to the next slide, but by that I mean that there's a single stroke motor sitting inside these pumps which pulls the vacuum in one smooth sweep. So you get a really smooth curve. Now, if we have a look at the next slide, we'll bring in the Pump and Style Max Flow. And it's going to show up in like a blue teal color. And you can see two key differences, right? So the Pump and Style Max Flow did have a slower build-up of vacuum. Now, it did need to do that, and I'll explain in a moment why. But it also was not a smooth stroke pump. It was what we call a multi-stroke pump. So with the Max Flow technology, the motor inside this pump is pulling many little revolutions to reach that peak vacuum. And these micro vibrations that come as a product of this were actually really designed for a positive outcome. They were designed to stimulate the milk ducts and improve milk flow. And so this is a good technology, but you can see that it did have that slower application of buildup. And so what we did was over the course of the last year was try to investigate how we could bring in those symphony-like principles into the curve shape with this type of multi-stroke motor. And if we click again, what you'll see that we discovered is that we can do it. And so the new Pump and Style, which will show up now in magenta, you can see now that it's really overlaying nicely with the yellow Symphony curve. But what we had to do to maintain comfort, which was a really fun discovery last year, where we were running different research streams, even a small randomized control trial to assess this. And what we saw is that if we want to match and replicate those principles of Symphony, we needed to have like a soft start at the beginning when the vacuum is immediately pulled and the nipple is immediately engaged. If we had that little soft start at the beginning, mums found this curve comfortable, right? So if we click once more, I'll take away all the other two curves and we'll just zoom in and we'll have just the Symphony and the new Pump and Style on, so you can see that really clearly. So hopefully you can see here that we have this nice overlay with the new Pump and Style Pro curve in magenta that matches really nicely a quick build up of vacuum and an optimized hold. It still has that Max Flow technology, but it also has this balance of comfort and efficiency. So by having that little soft start, we're able to achieve a nice comfort level and achieve those quick build-ups and optimized holds. So this was a pretty fun discovery journey, I have to say. Now, I've told you lots of things, so are we going to have any data to prove that it actually works? Well, yes. So I'll click to the next slide. And unfortunately, well, there will be a sneak preview, but unfortunately the study is not quite finished yet for this webinar, but we have absolutely investigated this pump extensively with our partners at the University of Western Australia. So they were happy to agree to test this pump for us, the Getty's Hartman Human Lactation Research Group. And this site is really great because they really focus on objective measures. So the primary objective of this pump assessment is to look at volume, but specifically breast drainage. And breast drainage is this metric that we really love called percentage of available milk removed. And the reason this is really important is that it really is an objective measure. It takes into account how full the mum is at the start of the pumping session and truly measures how empty she is at the end of the pumping session. Whereas, of course, many of you will know assessing volume is really variable and really tricky, right? So it depends on time of day, it depends on many factors, but the percentage of available milk removed is a great metric to really kind of like sit down in a controlled session, get a number at the end, which really represents how well we drain the breast. So the team are they've nearly finished actually conducting a study with 30 fully breastfeeding pumping mums. The primary objective will be that volume with the PAMA, with the breast drainage. but they'll also measure comfort and satisfaction, nipple temperature, which is a proxy for nipple integrity, time to milk ejection, and basically what they'll ask the mums to do, the mums will come in, they will conduct a 15-minute controlled double pumping session. They'll take milk samples before and after so we can assess how full the breast is before and after via the fat content. They've got an infrared camera, so they'll measure the nipple temperature, they'll conduct a maternal questionnaire, and they'll send the mum home with homework. And so the homework is this 24-hour production assessment. So all the mums get sent home with a scale. They have to weigh their baby before and after every breastfeed from each breast, so we see how much volume is being transferred. A little milk sample has to be transferred before and after each breastfeed as well. And all of those line up and match with the controlled pumping session. So it's a really rigorous and systematic methodology that will allow us at the end of all of that to say just how well this pump is draining the breast, and we'll compare it to reference data in the literature for Symphony. So that will be really exciting. Now, we did ask the team if they had any sneak preview, and so I have just 2 charts for you, but it's still very tantalizing. In this ongoing testing, you can see here 2 charts. I'll step you through them. So basically, on the left-hand scale, we have the rating. So if the mum rated it a 1, then it was really bad rating. If they rated a 5, it was a really good rating. And right now, the team have provided us here preliminary data on the subjective feedback. So they asked the question, how satisfied are you with the milk output on the left? And they asked, how satisfied are you with the comfort of the pump on the right? And what's important to look at in these charts is the little cross, the little X represents the average or the mean value. So you want the little cross for Symphony there to be in a similar location on the box on the right for the pump and style. And the good news is they are tracking along really similarly. So you want to see these boxes, all the data should be at the bottom because 5 is good. So that's good. And you want to see that the crosses are similar for the Symphony and the pump and style, which is matching up nicely as well. So we're getting really similar data coming out and really happy mums. And hopefully we'll get the rest of the data in soon and can share that imminently and publish it as well. So that's the end of my part. So thank you very much. And I'll pass over to Angela.
Thanks, Danielle, and really exciting to see some of the preliminary data regarding Pump and Style. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how Symphony and Pump and Style Pro deliver hospital to home continuity of care. So as a hospital-based IBCLC, I spend most of my life with Symphony. So we'll talk a little bit about how the products work differently. So Danielle did a great job of explaining the Maintain program, and thinking about the Maintain program is really mimicking the term infant baby sucking pattern when there's milk available. But what Symphony does that no other pump does is we have the initiation technology in Symphony. And the way this works is it's mimicking the irregular or more rapid sucking of a term infant in the early days of after birth when we have non-nutritive sucking. So if you think about the first 72 to 96 hours when moms really just have colostrum, babies have really unique behaviors during this time. They do like a lot of rapid sucking, they take breaks, they fall asleep at the breast. We spend a lot of time trying to wake them up. They will do a rapid pattern or a slow pattern. So it's really all over the place. But really, that's really important for breast programming. So we know the brain needs this kind of pattern to know to bring in a full milk supply. And that is what's unique to Symphony. And then the Maintain comes in when there's actually milk flowing. So you see a different pattern with suck, 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 suck to get to the milk to come down, and then a suck, swallow, suck, swallow, suck, swallow pattern. So going on to the next slide, let's talk about the research that supports this. Danielle mentioned that Symphony is the most studied breast pump available, and we have 8 randomized control trials and a number of other studies to back up the use of Symphony in that first few days to establish milk or get to secretory activation, And really over time, this doubles the amount of mothers who come to volume. And you can see really a 50% increase in milk supply if you, rather than starting out with a personal use pump from birth. So if we go to the next slide, I'll show you how what the research looks like. So if we're always looking at the baby as the gold standard of how to bring in a milk supply, and you can see the gold line here is what a term baby would do. And then the gray bar on the bottom is using a personal use pump. Oh, sorry, I went a little too fast there. But you can see that using the Symphony with initiation technology really follows the same pattern of a baby. And so we get to the same amount of milk supply versus if you would have started with a personal use pump. So the baby's always the gold star standard. If we don't have a baby, such as we have a mom who's separated from her baby, the baby's in the NICU, we want to use that initiation program from the very beginning. Thanks for helping me, Michelle, with my video. So thinking about this as a lactation consultant, as we set up our symphonies with our moms in the hospital for a variety of reasons, either the mom is separated from the baby and we need her to be completely pump dependent, or we have a mom that maybe has a late preterm baby and we're using Symphony a little bit more as an insurance policy to make sure the milk comes in if we have a baby who's not super effective at the breast. Or all of you know, there's a bunch of reasons in the hospital why we set up Symphony. And I think there's a transition then to home. There could just be a mom never starts pumping in the hospital, but she uses a pump when she is going back to work or anything like that. When we set up the Symphony at the hospital, we can be assured that the pump and style works in the same way. And one of the things that I had said to Michelle when we were working on pump and style earlier was, with the old pump and style, I had no idea like what level the mom was on for her pump maximum comfort vacuum. So I might set it up with her at Symphony, and that turns out to be a really important measurement to make sure that we're getting milk out. And this way I know, okay, I've sat with her, I know what her maximum comfort vacuum is, and I can send her home with the same number. Or if she comes into me with a problem, she's having issues with her milk supply, I can watch her pumping and know where she is on that cycle. The other thing, if you want to go to the next slide, is there's a bunch of really important things about setting up a mom to get her pumping off right. And really successful maintenance of milk supply is all of the personalized care that we do with mothers, and that is proper breast shield sizing. So the nice thing about our breast shields is that they're compatible. So if you set a mom up with an 18 millimeter shield at the hospital, she can use that on the pump and style that she goes home with. And that 105-degree breast shield is super important for milk output, and we get about 11.8% more milk. Part of the reason for that is that the shield design kind of cradles the ducts and allows them to expand. And that part is really important. We don't want compression of ducts because then we'll inhibit some of the milk release. And obviously setting up the maximum comfort vacuum with Symphony is the same as the Pump and Style Pro. And we always want moms to be reassessing their maximum comfort vacuum so they get the most amount of milk out when they're pumping. And another important point is we always want moms to be double pumping, and that really boosts the amount of milk output. Now, there are times that I do single pumping and both pumps support single pumping. A really great example of this is like you might have a late preterm baby and you use the single pump to elicit the milk letdown on one side. The pump's really great at doing that. But if we have a pump dependent mom, we really want her to be doing double pumping. And all of this ensures a seamless continuity from when I have a mom at the hospital to when I can send her home. So next slide. So just in summary, we want to make sure we're doing comfortable and efficient pump settings, that we have a seamless transition from the hospital to home. We want to help our moms maintain a milk supply and overall just help her with increased success for breastfeeding. So I'll turn it back to Michelle because she's going to show you now the new pump and style options.
All right. Thank you, Angela, for going over that. I think the continuity of care is something that we can provide moms that no one else can, and it's going to be a huge benefit to moms as they're transitioning home with their new little one. So what I want to walk you through now is an overview of what products we're going to be launching and when. But first, what I wanted to show you is that we will have two new pumps that we are launching. We will have Pump and Style Pro, which you see over on the left, and we will have Pump and Style Pro Plus. So these two versions, they'll both come with the benefits of the updated pumping pattern, the LED indicators, as we discussed. But the big difference here is that in the Pro Plus, this will have a built-in rechargeable battery. And you'll notice that the lower portion of the pump is going to be gray. So mom, you can easily distinguish between which version mom has. But we know that mobility is key for moms, and they need to be going back and forth to places and multitasking. And so having a built-in battery is something that we wanted to make sure we were offering moms this time. So we will have different configurations of the Pro and Pro Plus. The first launch is coming in a couple weeks, which I'm really excited about. We'll be launching Pump and Style Pro through managed markets. So as moms are choosing their pump through insurance, WIC, and hospital. And as Kelly alluded to earlier, access is really important for us. So we really wanted to make sure that we prioritize these channels because this is the largest opportunity for moms to gain access. And we wanted to ensure that they were able to use the new technology and benefit from the performance and comfort. And then shortly following June, we will be launching Pro on Amazon in July for other moms to have access to the product as well. And then closer to the end of the year, we will be launching Pro Plus in different variations. So we will have a version with the traditional set, your standard bottles and shields. We will also have Pump and Style Hands Free in the Pro Plus version. And then we will have a bundle that allows mom to have one pump, two ways of pumping. So really ensuring that we're covering all the unique needs of not only moms, but our distributors as well. And lastly, for those of you that are wondering, because I think one of the biggest questions is, what is going to be the difference between the old and the new? How can I quickly identify that when a mom comes in? And so over on the left, you see a nice little chart that clearly outlines the current Pump and Style as versus the new Pump and Style Pro and Pro Plus. This is something that you guys can download at the end. On the next slide, there'll be a QR code that directs to our landing page. We'll have assets, but just something at a quick glance. And then if you do have a mom who comes in and you want to easily or quickly identify which pump she has, the Max Flow versus the Pro, I have three little tips. So first is the Pump and Style Pro or Pro Plus name will be printed on the upper portion of the top part of the pump, where you can see on the previous Pump and Style, it was on the lower. And then I alluded to this earlier in my slides, was the 16 dimples around the tubing port. So they're actually debossed, so you can physically see them even when the pump isn't lit up. And then obviously when the pump turns on, the LEDs will illuminate. So that concludes our presentation. I hope you guys enjoy this, are as excited as we are, and feel that we've really heard you, we've listened, we've made impactful changes, and that we're delivering on the needs of moms. And here's a QR code that you can scan. You can find more of those resources that I mentioned, as well as requesting a sample. We'll be happy to send those to you once they're available in the next coming weeks. So thank you again, and we appreciate your time.
Well, thank you everyone for this engaging session. We're so excited to move on to the question and answer part. So our first question that came in is, will the 21 millimeter flange be included with the Pump and Style?
That's a great question. It was something that I actually wanted to mention during the configuration demonstration. We will be including size 21s in particular in the kit that moms get through insurance. Some of the feedback was that, they did want smaller flange sizes for moms outside of the size 24 that we originally included. So that's one of the improvements that we're making, or one of the other improvements, I should say, based on the feedback. So good question.
That's a great question. Thank you for that. So another person asked Michelle, will the Max Flow parts be compatible with the Pro and vice versa?
Yes, all the parts between Pump and Style Max Flow as well as Pump and Style Pro will be compatible. They're all the same parts. Nothing is changing. So the tubing's the same. The tubing here for the traditional kit, the hands-free tubing. They can still use this collection kit. I think I saw a question about Symphony kits, but we are maintaining the Flex kit, and then the hands-free collection cups will be compatible. The one thing that won't be compatible, actually, that I will call out that was existing was the battery pack. It was cumbersome. It used 8 batteries. It was something that wasn't ideal and practical. Now that we're coming out with a rechargeable version, it didn't make sense to have that anymore. So.
Thanks, Michelle. You answered a couple questions with that reply. So that's great. So there's been a couple questions about if there's still going to be a need to rent the Symphony pump after discharge with this new pump, or can moms transition day 2 to 3 postpartum to Pro?
I can take that question. That's a really great question. Really, the way that the research demonstrates, and I want to say too, this is over many, many different studies over different times, over different populations, is that we really see with the Symphony, we need to use the initiation program until about secretory activation. And then after secretory activation, which you can either measure on day 5, when you have more than 20 milliliters combined in pumping sessions, or if you're using sodium measurements that the sodium's under 16, then you would transition to the maintain phase of Symphony or a personal use pump. So you could transfer to the Pump and Style Pro. I think what the research shows is that you probably get a little bit more milk with Symphony for each day in the maintain program, but at the end, they all catch up. So you would have about the same level of milk at day 14. So if you're really using the pump to bring in a full milk supply, you really need to have Symphony in the first few days until secretory activation, and then use a maintain or the Pump and Style.
Great, thank you for that. We do have another question that came in, Danielle, that I think you can help us answer. Is there any data on the PAMR of the hands-free version?
Yeah, I was just typing in. I'll put the link in. There is a publication on the hands-free version, but the current study that we referred to today was using the traditional pump sets. But there is a nice study that has compared the PAMR with the hands-free version compared to a traditional pump set.
Thank you. Michelle, somebody has asked, will the Max Flow be weeded out to only the Pro?
I'm not quite sure what that could mean. If I'm understanding correctly, we will still have the Max Flow version available, right, in some channels. So retail, it takes time to sell out. But the idea is to directly replace the items that moms are getting through insurance, as well as WIC with the new Pro. And then retail will be transitioning slowly to the Pro Plus or the Pro, depending on who it is. So just like Pump and Style Advance, when we transition, we'll still see a little bit of the old pumps out there, but the goal is to get as many Pros out there and Pro Pluses as possible when they launch.
Great, thank you. And another question along that lines are, can you share any information about what the bundle options will be with the Pump and Style Pro?
Yeah, so we will have the Pump and Style Pro available through insurance, which will include the pump itself. It will include 2 bottles, size 21 and 24, Personal Fit Plus shields, as well as the connector and membranes and the tubing. So that will be the standard kit configuration through insurance, as well as it will be offered on Amazon coming in July. We will continue to have the WIC version, which comes with the bag and the built-in cooler. Everything will be the same in that. We're just going to swap out the pump. And then when we launch Pro Plus, we will have a hands-free version as well as a traditional. So we'll have both because we know moms want options, and it makes sense, right, with the hands-free cups to have rechargeable. And then we'll also have a one pump, 2 ways of pumping, which will actually come with both. So moms can switch between the two.
So many great options. Thank you, Michelle, for having these here. Another question has come in about, will the membranes and consumable parts be available on Amazon when the pumps launch?
Yeah, so since everything is still compatible, mom can still purchase all of the existing products we have online, and there's no need to wait.
Excellent. Thank you. How about, will there be any changes to the warranty or motor lifespan of the new Pro?
That is a good question, and that's something that I will take back to the team. It will have the standard 1-year warranty that the current Pump and Style has, as well as all of our other personal use pumps. But it's a good recommendation and something that we can look into.
Great, thank you. Another question has come in about the research, Danielle. When you did the milk output studies, you mentioned fore and hind milk, but how was that measured?
The fore and hind milk. So the mums take a small milk sample before pumping and after pumping, and then the creams are measured. So basically, the milk samples are collected in small capillary tubes. They're placed in a centrifuge, and they're spun, and it's the percentage of cream layer that's formed within those little capillary tubes, and that's usually measured with a chromatograph machine.
Excellent, thank you. And I know Angela's replying to a couple questions here live about Symphony rentals, but Michelle, somebody asks if you happen to have a pump that you can give a demo of what the indicator lights might look like.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I have one of our pumps here. Hopefully, you can see it a little bit. It's just kind of the blur makes it hard. But you can see here we have the Pump and Style Pro name on the top. We still have the easy 4 buttons. And when you turn it on, you will see the lights light up. It's kind of like a speedometer. It ramps up, or tachometer, I should say. And then you have the stimulation expression indicator here, which will change from orange to white. And you'll notice here when I press it, it changes. And then we have the increase and then the decrease. And then when you turn it off, it kind of ramps back down again. But super easy, super intuitive, tells mom exactly what level she's at, as well as what pumping mode. And then when the Pump and Style Pro version comes out, which will again have that gray bottom, it will have the battery life indicator included as well.
That's great. So one more question came in, and we still have some time. If you have questions that you've been thinking of, please submit them to the questions pane. But someone asks if, Danielle, if you can explain the reasoning behind starting at level 3 again.
Yeah, so Medela's vacuum range is very large. So we offer very, very weak vacuums for sensitive mums, going down to 50, 60 millimeters of mercury, right? These are not the type of levels that most mums should use. Mums should not start or will not have an effective pump session if they're only using 60 to 70 millimeters of mercury. So in order to offer that really weak range for the sensitive mums, but also offer an effective starting point, that's why the setting starts a little bit higher at around level 3, so that those weak levels are accessible to mums if they need to go down, but that the majority of users are starting on an effective pump setting that's going to encourage milk flow.
Great. Thank you so much, Danielle. So I'm not quite sure what this question means. Speed that came through. Someone is asking about the speed and vacuum levels. So really they're matching up, I think is what the question is, between Symphony and Pump and Style.
Yes, the speed and vacuum levels are pre-programmed. So each level will have a combination of speed and vacuum, just like Symphony does today. Yeah.
Wonderful, thank you. We can give it just another minute to see if any additional questions come in. But we're so glad to have everyone join us for the
And
webinar
just a
today.
reminder, you guys are getting a sneak peek before everyone else. We will start teasing this out to moms over the next couple weeks and officially launching middle of June. And then since this product is going through insurance and WIC, it's going to take some time as moms pick their pump and get it and deliver and everything. So it might be some time before you see it, but please visit the landing page where the QR code was and request a sample, and you can see it firsthand in person.
Wonderful. So someone did ask Michelle about the pricing for the models.
Yeah, so pricing will be dependent on whichever channel mom's purchasing it from, whether it's going direct to consumer as well as to our distributors. But we've worked really hard to maintain our pricing to ensure that, especially through insurance, that it's highly accessible to all moms, because we know that insurance plans are getting a little more stringent about what they're going to cover for mom, and we wanted to make sure that as many moms had as much access as possible. And then when we launch in retail, we're making sure that we're competitively priced against the products that we previously had, as well as against other products in the market.
Thanks, Michelle. So we have another question that came in. The question is there a vibration that occurs through the suction in expression phase?
Danielle, do you want to take that one?
Yes.
We're talking about the curves.
Yeah, in expression phase. So yes, this is still a multi-stroke motor. So it still contains the same motor, which has those micro vibrations as the former version. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Someone else said that they joined a little late and think they missed when you talked about the suction strength, but can you talk about the suction of both the Pro and Pro Plus?
So the suction between the Pro and Pro Plus is going to be the same. So Plus doesn't mean that it's any stronger than the Pro version. They'll be exactly the same. The Pro Plus just means it has a rechargeable battery. So the pumping patterns, the levels, everything that Danielle went through when it came to the curve and the pumping pattern will be identical between the two. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thanks, Michelle. I think that does help give some clarity. Wonderful. Well, I think we've answered everyone's questions, so I want to take the opportunity to thank everyone who joined us today for the webinar. Oh, sorry, one more did come through of how different will the pump be offered by WIC, or will it be the same?
It's not going to be different at all. It's going to be the same exact pump across all the different configurations. The only thing that's different across all the different SKUs or what mom is getting is whether she gets a traditional kit, she gets the hands-free collection cups, but the pump performance, everything is going to be exactly the same.
That's great. There's been so many great questions today. And so another question comes through, are there tubes that are connected to the hands-free cups?
Yes, yeah. So they do have tubing that connects to the top and then it goes directly into the pump. So there are tubes that can easily be hidden in mom's shirts because you can move the different directions to them.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, now I think that we've gotten all of the questions. So I'm going to take the opportunity just to thank everybody who is on the call with us as attendees for joining this webinar, and also to Angela, Michelle, Danielle, and Kelly for joining us today for this session. Once we leave today's webinar, you're going to be redirected to a survey about the webinar. So we really appreciate you taking a few minutes to give us feedback. And you'll also receive an email with the link to be able to watch the recording. And So we're really happy to have you with us and look forward to seeing you on another call. Thanks so much, everyone.
Okay.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.